Applied Materials, a materials engineering solutions company, reported their full year and fourth quarter earnings on November 16th. We'll cover just the fourth quarter financials. Note we are using GAAP data. Revenues were slightly lower year over year, coming in at $6.7 billion, but were better than consensus estimates. However, coincidentally, on the same day as the earnings report, the U.S. Attorney's Office issued a subpoena regarding shipments to China. Despite the earnings beat, the shares were down over 4% to $149.59 on the criminal investigation. AMAT reported an improved gross margin of 47.14%. Operating profit was slightly lower to $1.97 billion, or about 29.3% of revenue. Pre-tax income was up 11.4% to $2.2 billion. Net income was $2 billion, up 26%, or about 30% of revenue. It was an increase in interest income from $12 million to $259 million and lower tax provisions that helped propel Applied Materials to beat net expectations. Company revenue by geography shows China with the lion's share at about 44% of total revenue, or $3 billion. In Q4 2022, China only made up 20% of sales. Taiwan's revenue share went from 31% to 14%, or $922 million. Korean revenue shares dropped 5% of total revenue to $745 million. Southeast Asia was only 2% at $168 million, down from $451 million in the year-over-year quarter. The US, Europe, and Japan revenue share was largely unchanged. Segment revenue saw AMAT's semiconductor business contract 3% to $4.9 billion. Applied Global Services improved by 3.6% to $1.5 billion. The company's display business, its smallest at $300 million, grew by 18.7%. The fundamental valuations were respectable, so let's take a look. Shares outstanding were down 2%, improving the market value ratios. Earnings per share came in at $2.38, up 28.5% year over year. Sales per share increased despite lower revenue because of the decrease in shares outstanding to $8. Cash per share was $7.28, up 213%. Balance sheet cash went from $2 billion in Q4 2022 to $6.1 billion in Q4 2023. Book value jumped 37% to $19.42, and the annualized PE is 15.61 compared to the S&P 500 at 24.94. PE growth was 0.55. The leverage ratios also improved. The debt ratio is 0.18. Assets increased by $4 billion, while debt remained unchanged. Equity also increased by about $4 billion, improving the debt-to-equity ratio to 0.33. Interest coverage at 34 times remained unchanged. Liquidity ratios were all improved by the $4 billion cash increase. Inventories were slightly lower, and accounts receivable was lower by $900 million. The current ratio at 2.6, the quick ratio coming in at 1.63, and the cash ratio at 0.83 all favorably support Applied Materials' short-term liquidity. With an equity multiplier of 1.88, return on assets were 26.09 annualized, and return on equity was 49%. Both the numerator and the denominator increased in both ratios. Operating cash flow improved by 81% to $1.6 billion, boosted by net income. Investing cash outflows increased, totaling $489 billion. Financing outflow of just shy of $1 billion were improved as the company repurchased less shares of the company than the year-over-year quarter. Free cash flow, it came in at an impressive $6.2 billion, up 200%. Applied Materials paid a dividend of 32 cents, yielding 0.86% and growing at 22.6%. AMAT's enterprise value is $120 billion, which is 4.5 times annualized revenue, 19.2 times free cash flow. Annualized net income is 15.6 times the company's market capitalization. Applied Materials' first quarter 2024 guidance expects net sales to be approximately $6.47 billion, plus or minus $400 million. Non-GAAP adjusted diluted EPS is expected to be in the range of 172 to 208.